What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the BizDad Podcast. Today, I am very excited to have a good conversation with Chance McClain. We just happened to get connected through like Interview Valet or something like that, but I think we're a super good fit. It's going to be a lot of fun having this conversation with you. So Chance, if you can, please go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about your family and tell us about your business.
So I'm Chance. Yeah, I'm 52 years old. Been married for 32 of those years, 31. Get those mixed up, to Kirsten. We have two kids. My son Noah's 28. He's an entrepreneur. He has his own company. And my daughter Abby Gunn, is, what is she? She's 24. Both kids are married. No grandkids yet. My daughter works with me here at Heritage Films, where I have a company where we make feature-length documentary films for families and founders. So think what you see on Netflix, but you control the audience. It's your family, your people. But as far as quality and style, it is like HBO documentary style documentary about your family.
Wow.
Via long form interviews. So it kills me to be interviewed, Adam, because every instinct in my bone is, I want to know so much about you. So if I turn it on you, please flip it back.
No, you're fine. It's conversation. This can be had. You can ask me any question you'd like in the process.
Yeah,
so
man.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir. So I've been doing this for about 10 years, a little over 10 years. I started the company. Before that, my gosh, it's a wild tale of going viral before things went viral. I wrote a song about Yao Ming and got into the music business for a little bit. Before that, I was in the Army for 4 years. Before that, I failed out of some of Texas's best colleges. Worked in radio for a decade. I was a program director of sports radio stations and had a blast in that. Worked for the teams, worked for the Texans, the Rockets, the Astros, and wrote a off-Broadway musical along the way that got to play in New York with my kids in it. Homeschooled in private school back and forth for all of my kids' upbringing. And I'm leaving off more. It's been a wild, wild ride, brother.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a whole lot in there that we could delve into.
Welcome to the BizDad Podcast, where we dive into the melding of fathership and entrepreneurship with your host, the original BizDad himself, Adam Labar. Adam is a Christian, a former Air Force officer, a dad to 3 amazing kids, a coach, a real estate investor, and a business owner. On this podcast, he'll explore the unique journeys of amazing dads who are striving for greatness in both business and family. So whether you're a dad who is an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or simply a man striving to be a better dad, get ready as the BizDad brings you conversations to inspire, challenge, and equip you to be a better dad and entrepreneur. And now, here's Adam.
You know, I want to start where I usually start off is kind of, you've already started part of the rewind, but I want to go a little farther back and kind of understand how Chance became Chance, your upbringing, who was raising you. Talk about your parents a little bit, especially your dad, since this is a dad podcast. So I'd love to kind of dig into that. Tell me a little bit about what it was like for you growing up.
Well, man, this is a crazy, crazy tale. I don't think I've ever done this and actually talked it through. But I was raised here in Houston in the suburbs, and my dad kind of had a split life. Like he had a girlfriend and a different house also. It was things like he drove a Porsche, but our house got foreclosed. So me and my mom and my brother had to leave because we got our house. And that was my senior year of high school, my junior and senior year of high school. So think about this. My dad drove a Porsche, so all the people thought that we had money, but we were so broke, we didn't have air conditioning. Like our air conditioner broke my sophomore year. So I grew up kind of masking, and I didn't want anybody to know that things were tight, right? And so my dad he had lots of opportunities to do better.
Yeah.
And so always loved him. He has had the personality of a million men. I mean, he was a fascinating conversationalist. He was just really into himself and the things that he wanted to do. They got divorced when I was, I guess, around my sophomore year. He moved to California, and we were broke, and he was living large in Malibu, and we didn't even know. Just terrible. So I think I compensated my lack of a dad. I borrowed the dads of all my buddies, and there are several men that served as father figures to me that were outstanding. Like my best friend to this day, his father was awesome. He was a high school principal and almost out of a comic book. He was exactly that. He was strict but loving, or strict but fair, demanding but would reward. He was an awesome guy. My other buddy, Daryl, his dad was always there. We went to church together, and his dad kind of modeled what it was to be a Christian. I was very involved in my church. I compensated my jacked up home life by being very involved in everything, hyper involved in church and choir and a youth group. And then at school, I was dominant in school and everything. Like perfect grades, class president of a big school all 4 years, multi-year letterman in all the sports. I was the lead in every play. Went to the University of Texas on a academic scholarship, and my dad re-entered my life to help me move in at UT. And he had me change when he saw that I was majoring in radio, television, and film, he's like, there's no money in that. What are you doing? And he convinced me to switch to business. And I failed out immediately. Like, it was a terrible, terrible decision on my part. I made the decision. He was probably doing what he thought was best. There's not money in radio, television, and film. He wasn't wrong about that. I happened to be somebody that was always into all that stuff. When you look at over the course of my life, I've done a lot of TV. I worked at ran radio stations. I've made movies. That was the type of person that I was. But I had to go through everything that I did to be here. My dad re-entered my life very recently. I basically wrote him off whenever my wife and we eloped, we got married, and I had nothing to do with my dad for many years. Like, we'd go 8 to 10 years without even talking. But just about 2 weeks ago, I got a call from my oldest brother, who I also don't have a relationship with, but Dad's health was failing. And I went to visit my father about 2 weeks ago. It's the first time I've seen him in maybe 15 years. And man, it was sad, because all of those bad decisions, what I see as bad decisions, caught up with him. And he's a sad figure. I love him. He's my father. I honor him. I wanted to be there. I wanted to talk to him, but his health is failing, and he's not living in Malibu now. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, wanted to step in to discuss something. If you're anything like me, you've ran into some time in your business where you feel a little overwhelmed with some of the mundane tasks that eat up your valuable time. You're working more in the business than you are on the business, right? If that's you and you're hearing this and you're saying, boy, it is time to reclaim some of my schedule back, to focus on what truly matters. You want to get time back with elite remote talent with zero time zone hassle. Check out one of my partners that I just recently partnered up with, BizDad&x.com/Adam is where you go to check these folks out. Delegate $10 an hour tasks to focus more on the $1,000 an hour tasks, the things that are really transforming your business. Get rid of some of those transactional things and do some more of the transformational inside of your business. So again, schedule your free strategy call at wisevas.com/Adam. Wise, WISEVAS.com/Adam. Again, let's get rid of some of those transactional tasks and move them into transformational tasks. It's been a phenomenal team to work with. I really look forward to sharing them with you. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to discuss with you what's going on as well. But again, wisevas.com/Adam. Thank you very much. And now back to the episode. Unbelievably difficult. When did you guys find out about the girlfriend? Was that something that was like, hey, we knew it was happening? I was after,
No,
okay.
After, yeah, definitely. After the divorce even. Basically, when he was in California, I went to visit one time, and he always had an excuse of why we would visit him, and things were nice. We'd eat at nice restaurants and stuff, but it was always because some deal he was putting together. We got free this, that, or the other. But while we were there, that girl was there who I knew as his secretary. And then it turns out, and then they ended up getting married. So it's like, oh my gosh. Then we just found out later that he had another house. And so while things were tight at home, he had somewhere that things weren't tight. And I think in his heart of hearts, excuse me, he always thought that there was some horizon where things would be okay and he would be able to provide and do the things for us. But that horizon, of course, you chase horizons, you never catch them. And he never did.
How did that kind of affect you, especially as a young man? I mean, you had an older brother, and you're looking at this as this. Well, I want to juxtapose two things.
Please.
Let's rewind to before that you found out about that, right?
Yep.
Before everything kind of went south, your image of your dad. And then how did you juxtapose that with after everything, like after the divorce, after you start finding everything out, and you're like, boy, those had to have felt like two different people.
Completely.
Depending on what happened. So let me break that down a little bit mentally.
Yeah. So as a boy, I would say I kind of idolized my dad. He was is, if there's ever a way that is just one word, because he is still alive and he is still disheveled and looks homeless, and he's still the most fun person in the world to talk to. He's captivating, and he was always that way. And so he played the part. You know, we would do a family vacation when I was little. We would spend a lot of time at his parents and my mom's parents. So a lot of family being important, but he was always removed. He was always busy doing other stuff. Like a modern day dad, he would be the dad on the iPhone, right? Like completely no eye contact. And then so I grew up idolizing him because he was fascinating. He had a really interesting background. He worked in radio whenever he was young during, early rock and roll, Beatles, that era. He worked in radio, and I thought that was so cool. Some of his friends were DJs that I heard on the air, and I loved radio. I still love radio. I love podcasts. This is the evolution of radio to me, dude.
Very much so.
And so he was this fascinating figure with a cool car who was my dad. My friends all liked him because he was so charming. But then when everything fell apart and I realized that, my gosh, it was all a ruse. Dude, it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I realized, oh my God, he's been full of forever. Like I had to go through so much crap to realize, man, he is just not focusing on the things that you're supposed to focus on. So yeah, after the veil was lifted, I think I spent a lot of years bitter. I joined the Army. My dad was in the Air Force. I did a lot of things that mimicked him. The entrepreneur, my dad was always an entrepreneur, but he was never excellent at anything. I had to learn so much on my own and from other men in my life. I had to realize that those lessons, the things I'm seeing, I'm not just watching a movie where Russell's dad is doing the right things. I need to watch him and be like, oh my gosh, I need to do that. Those are lessons. That's not a movie I'm watching.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. Yeah. And I'm curious. So are you still a Christian?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah. So in a lot of the people I've talked to, one of the things that is really a struggle, especially if they've had like an abusive father or a really bad dad, they have a really hard time being a Christian and looking at God as their father, right? Like, really, like this is the example I have here on the earth and you want me to, like how did you you talked about even like after your dad left, like you dove into the church even more. Yeah. Like what was it that attracted you to the church? What was it that brought you to that?
Pure honesty, right? Hot chicks.
There you go. Yeah. It's a good place to look for a wife, honestly. So,
it is. Yeah. So yeah, there was youth group where the girls were. I didn't want to be home because the home was kind of a wreck. And so I just wanted to be busy. So I got involved at MYF. And then somewhere along I was saved, if you use that vernacular, chasing a girl at a Baptist overnight thing. And I found myself moved, and I felt like a nerd, but I was listening to what the guy was saying, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is me. And I know that my whole life has been different since. I fail a lot. I'm one of those cussing bourbon drinking Christians, but I'm there, baby. So, and I think it was that, I think the church, my relationship with Jesus and the church is what I leaned on. And, given what I do for a living, I've filmed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families, and 80% of them, it's a son or a daughter that hires me to go film this person that did something right in life. And man, I started looking at these successful men by every definition as a 40-year-old, as a 45-year-old, as a 50-year-old, and I'm like, man, this is it. It has changed my life so much. And what I've seen in all these people that have had bad, I don't like to say bad dads. I really try not to judge people, even my own bad dad. Less than ideal upbringings, you can repeat it or run from it. And that's in these dads, these people that I film, is even if they had a jacked up childhood, they're like, well, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I know one thing. And so they used it as, use challenges as lessons. They didn't read it in a book. They just did it.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I ask about people's upbringing is because we either run towards or run away, oftentimes, what we saw, right? And I would venture to guess, I have a theory that we run towards or run away from all sorts of different things, right?
Sure.
It's not just what our dad did. It's what we saw growing up, whether it has to do with your finances, whether it has to do with your Christian beliefs, whether it has to do with any number of things. You're either running towards or away what you saw growing up. And then you kind of create your own thing as an adult on where you think you need to be. And then your kids are going to run away or run towards. So what sort of things did you talk about all of this stuff with your kids as well? Like some of your upbringing, do they know who Chance was when he was younger before he had kids?
Yeah, they do. So I screwed up a lot of my kids' childhood, but because I think I was ultimately, like, my wife and I have just figured this out in the last 5 years, but my definition of success had a lot to do with attention, where the young boy, still wanted attention, even though I was an adult. And so I had been given all these opportunities in life. When you go through all of I didn't have jobs, bro. I had careers and I was successful in them, but I would get 2 or 3 years in and then I would jump ship. Again, lots of exposure, lots of opportunities. And I've done better each year, but I never stuck with anything. And now I've been doing this for 10 years. And I'm telling you, I pray to God I'm doing it when I'm 100 years old. I love what I'm doing. I have found my purpose, but it took me forever to do that. And over that time with my kids, I think I know I did. I stole the spotlight from my son too much, who's this amazing man, amazing kid. He had some challenges, and I think a lot of that was my fault. Like, even I mentioned the Broadway show. So my kids were into community theater. And so I'm like, all right, well, hell, I guess that's what I'm doing too. So I got very involved in the community theater. And when I get involved in something, I get very involved in it. Mm-hmm. And so flash forward a couple years, and I've written a musical, submitted it to the New York Musical Theater Festival, got accepted. And now my kids' hobby is now something that we are doing as a family. And we are in New York putting on a show. And all that comes with New York.
Yeah.
The drugs, the craziness. My son is, what was he? I guess he was 15 at the time. He was in the show, and it was just a bad scene. And Noah dipped into on the surface, everything was just perfect. The perfect kid, just handsome, smart, killing it. But he had some secrets that he was keeping from us, some substance issues, everybody that tries to say, well, he got into the wrong crowd. I'll tell you this, your kid is a part of that crowd. He's not in the wrong crowd. He's a part of that crowd. And then finally, maybe 7 years ago now, 6 or 7 years ago, he was completely lost. And we ended up sending him to, we call it camp now, but it was basically, it was a faith-based, it was Christian, not rehab. It was a regrounding for young people that were lost.
Yeah.
And it was in Arkansas, fantastic place called Capstone, where but it was 12 weeks, and we only got to see him for 3 hours every Sunday. So my wife and I would drive 11 hours each way every Sunday for 12 weeks. But he came out of that, it in a much better place. And then this is so honest. He didn't realize this, but that 12 weeks was the start of a 2-year program that my wife and I were to run. And about a month into that, he said no. Well, my wife and I learned so much through that experience. We stuck to our guns, and he went off to live with a buddy in Austin. I'm only happy to tell you all this because it is an absolute amazing ending to this story. But he met a girl, fell in love, got married, came home, worked with me for a year, I guess 4 years ago, started a business with his now wife, and is incredibly successful, incredibly grounded. He just he needed some time in the desert, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. And by the way, that stealing the limelight, I've got, my son is more extroverted. My daughter's more introverted. My daughter, she wasn't as hurt by dad stealing the limelight. Like, that was fine with her. She got to have all these cool experiences. She's the kid that, she loved going to New York. She was 9 years old in Manhattan. It was fun for her. We made a movie, and so she grew up around cameras and actors and people, and all that was fun. And she's the one that ends up she went to Texas A&M, graduated on time, no debt, immediately. She graduated on a Saturday, started work at dad's company on Monday, got married 3 weeks later. She's just this little rock steady young lady. She's awesome. And now my kids, who grew up with a lot of tension between them, they now literally live in houses across the street from each other. They're friends. And life is good. It throws you curveballs, but so happy with how things are.
What would you say as a dad helped you stay steady through all of that? Like, I mean, there's a lot of stress that comes along with a wayward child that I'm sure there's a lot of people listening are feeling right now, right?
Yeah.
How did you kind of stay steady as a dad, not give in to things that you felt like maybe would be good to give into, or, you know, especially you and your wife, how did you guys do that together to stay married and stay strong together?
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying that you can't do that as an atheist. You have to lean on your father. You have to. And the more things would get stressful, I leaned into work more. It's amazing how everything ties together, even with the model of a dad that I had. I leaned into work and decided along the way that I needed to become excellent at something vocationally. I needed to not fake it. I needed to not be full of crap. And because I had been, despite the successes, I think I was always faking it. And so I started getting really, really serious. This is before I started the company. I decided I'm not just going to be a hobbyist. I'm going to become great at this film thing. And what does that mean? It's going to seminars, taking classes, watching YouTube. Really, really, I ended up getting picked up by a company for 18 months. I was producing 2 videos a day, nonprofit videos that were 3 to 7 minutes each. And I was the producer interviewing owners, executive directors, 2 a day for 18 months. It was grueling. And about a month in, I'd been doing it about a month, and I already realized I could do this so much better. And I'm telling my wife how these people are so stupid. They're doing everything wrong. And she freaking lost it. She's like, Chance, you're doing it again. These people are trusting you to do this job, and they own this company. They own all this stuff. They have these contracts. They have everything. You're nothing. What are you? And I realized I am doing it again. I don't know better. And it was literally at that moment when I said, okay, you're right. I'm going to give it my all. And I started, this is a month into this 18 months, I started saying, how can I be the best interviewer? And by the way, it was a bunch of nonprofits. They were all full of crap, all of them. But I'm like, doesn't matter to me. And I disagreed with the politics. There's so much I disagreed with them on. But I was like, that doesn't matter. I'm going to honor this person I'm talking to, and I'm going to do the best job I can. And it sounds so trivial, but I'm telling you, it's not. What I did was I decided to become great at it. All this is answering your question, what did I do through these troublesome years with my kid? It was that. It was trying to authentically become great at something. And I'm still trying. I'm not there yet, but I'm still serious about it. Yeah, that. And then when Noah, when he goes off in those super tense moments with my wife and I, the tears and the yelling, let me take these off. Sorry. I've got the glasses. It was ringing in my head. Technology, dude. What do we do? I'm sorry. What was that stupid phone call? Let me put this on air.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were mentioning
during the toughest times, the fighting, the screaming, Kirsten, is this going to work? Or she's saying, Chance, I don't think this is going to, is this going to work? We disagree on something. What I ended up saying, because my wife had a more model upbringing, successful parents. She married the bad boy, kind of. They had their challenges too, but on paper, the ideal upbringing. And when it got into matters of parenting, what we ended up saying was, she had a better model of parenting than I did. Like on balance, if you put it on a scale, warts and all, hers is better. And so in these things where the immovable object and the unstoppable force, when that was our issue, I went with her because I knew my upbringing was tragic, that it was fake. Like everybody thought things were great when things were freaking terrible. Hers. And so in the issues with my son that were causing my wife and I tremendous stress, I let go. We prayed together. That was probably the thing that started fixing everything was, people say, you got to turn it over to God, but they say that like a freaking bumper sticker. Yeah. Dude, when you're really in it, when you're in the battle and you hit your knees and you pray with your wife, real honest conversation with God, things started fixing themselves. We did nothing and things started getting better. You flash forward to now, I could not have a better relationship with my son. He could not be doing better. He had to go through his own version of hell to be as strong as he is now. But now, man, when you're out, here's a note for your parents. If your kids are going through tough stuff and they get out of it, man, they are strong. They come out strong. They come out powerful. My son can take on anything now.
And I would imagine that you and your wife, after 31 years, could take on anything now as well, right?
I think so. I think we're pretty good. We're in good shape. We're very, very happy. We run the company together. My wife and I work together. My daughter works with us. Actually, the four of us own another company, Noah, Abby, our gun, myself, and my wife, that kind of does what we do at Heritage Films, but it's kind of at the early stages, but it's with kids. We have a studio 2 doors over where kids come in each year and tell their life story. They talk about their last year of, who's their boyfriend, girlfriend, what do they do at church camp, what music do they like. They come back every year and you watch them change over the years. And so my son is still involved in that. So we technically, we all still work together.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you started this venture when they were already teenagers. So like what sort of, it was 10 years ago, so they were 14 and 18.
Yeah.
What did they think about it? Like, did they have any involvement at that age? Was there, what was the family dynamic at the start of this? That's a big shift in life.
Yeah, it really is. So think about this. They were all involved, always. Even my daughter, she's a teenager, but she's always been an editor. She can always edit. So, she's homeschooling, and part of her job was editing our films. My son worked with us. He would crew with us as we're getting the company going. When I started the company, dude, I thought I was just filming family stories. Like I thought, oh, this is a gig. This is cool. I guess I should tell you the whole start of the company because it ties into. So my mom remarried Sam, and Sam was everything. He was the Vietnam Ranger. Worked one job for his whole life, retired at 55, lost his wife, and married my mom about a year later, as lots of men will do, as I've learned. And he was the most wholesome, awesome. He was the dad I never had, and literally the type of father that would sit you down and say, look here, son, I want to teach you something because your dad didn't. And he would go, it could be fixing the freaking lawnmower. Let me tell you why I hose the lawnmower off after I mow, right? That type of dad, the best man in the world. Well, flash forward to 2014, one of my radio buddies, he's a syndicated conservative talk show host. He asked me to film his dad. I'm like, what's wrong with your dad? He said, nothing. He's turning 75 and I want my kids to know their pawpaw. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I did that. And that was like the first Heritage film. And he talked about it on air, and a few people tracked me down. So I had done a couple of these over the course of a year. Well, the next year, 2015, Sam, my stepdad, who I'm very close with, he tells us at Thanksgiving that he played 18 on Wednesday. And on Thursday, sitting around my campfire drinking beer, he's like, well, y'all got some bad news. I got stage 4 pancreatic, and they tell me I got 12 to 18 months. That's how he told us. He's in a great place with the Lord. We're like, you what? What did you just say? And so I had done a couple of these films, and I said, hey, do your film. You've been my dad for a dozen years, but I want to know your story. And he said, yeah, he'd do it. Well, I couldn't do the interview because I'm a big baby and I cry. So my radio friend ended up doing it. And it was 2 months later, we could finally coordinate them doing the interview. And he interviewed him on a Tuesday, and he died on Sunday.
Wow.
And it was less than a week later, we're at the viewing, and my radio buddy, we're literally sitting at the funeral home out in his Tahoe drinking bourbon. And my radio friend is just a very playful, silly, fun guy. But in a very serious and sober moment, he's like, because he got to be me. He got to do the interview. He's like, dude, have you thought about making a company, like making this your thing? And I said, well, a little bit, but he's like, you need to. People need this. Talked to my wife, prayed about it, and we launched. That is how the company started. And so through all that, my kids were there for all of that. That is their grandfather. That they lost their pawpaw when they were 18 and 15. That played into my son's issues. This man that did everything right. This man that wasn't singing at half court at a Rockets game. This guy that wasn't carting off the family, chasing his ego to do some Broadway show. This guy that's teaching us to wash off the lawnmower. They lost that guy. And now we flash forward, we've done 800 films, and it all started because of him, because of Sam, because of my stepdad, their grandpa.
That's amazing. And I would imagine that kind of helped everybody rally around this idea as well, right? Because they all got the same feeling that like they got to personally experience what one of these films does for a family, what it means to the family. Yeah. And what a way for all of you guys to go, yeah, we get to do this together now.
Totally right. Yeah. And I had almost, because of my challenging upbringing and my challenges as a dad, I felt I had this, and the people that hire me have these amazing relationships with dad. I had this imposter syndrome for a while. And I thought, who am I that had a kid that had to go to rehab to talk to this man who is just a pillar and this stud of a 80-year-old, just the best dude in the world. I felt kind of guilty. But man, the more films I did, the more I realized that almost every family, if not every family, they've all got challenges and struggles. It made me kind of reconcile with my own doubts. And then with Noah, as he got his life straightened out, it always had to be him. He had to do it. We couldn't make him do it. He had to do it. And as his life started straightening out, I started realizing that, gosh, maybe we're beating ourselves up a little hard about some of our decisions. I know our intentions were always good. I know I wasn't trying to steal thunder. My kids were involved in theater. Let's get involved. Let's do it. If they had been baseball, I would have been baseball dad. But I guess intentions, it takes more than just good intentions. You got to look for blind spots. And I guess I could see that I had some.
Well, I think we all have blind spots, and I think that there's not a single family, like you said, that doesn't have a wart on it somewhere. If they don't, they're just covering up with Band-Aids, because they're there. Like, there are problems in every one of our families.
Yeah.
And so now that you've been kind of growing this, and both of them have worked now as adults inside of the company, how have things kind of shifted? What are your thoughts on where you want it to go? I think you said 800 films you've done, over 800 of these films now.
Can you believe it?
Right. So how much more are you planning to grow? Like, what is the actual involvement of, because your daughter still works in it, your son used to. So how involved are they? What sort of things are you guys doing together now with the business? Okay.
My son doesn't work here, but he's still very involved. We are as tight a family as I've ever filmed. Does that make sense? Like we are a unit. We have Friday night dinner every time that we're all in town, which is probably 40 times a year. So, take off 12 weeks or so. We all have dinner together. And in that dinner, it's real conversations. We don't talk about The Bachelor or whatever we're watching. We have real talks. We all own companies. And so we talk business, we talk shop, we talk family. We vacation together. Disney World's our big family. We've been going since the kids were little, and we still go every year, even though they're adults. And so, but even on vacation, like, work is a part of who we are, happily. And so my daughter, she went to Texas A&M. Well, she started at a university called Stephen F. Austin as a film major, but then we went to a wedding full of Aggies. And I don't know what you know about Texas A&M, but it's kind of like a cult. And it's very traditions-based.
Kind of like a cult?
It's a cult.
Yeah.
But it's a good cult. It's a good cult. Well, we went to this Aggie wedding that had 200 Aggies at it, and we're there filming it. And on the way home that night, my daughter's like, "Dad, I'm at the wrong school. Those are my people." So she transferred to A&M. They didn't have a film program, so she did telecommunications. She graduated, worked with me the whole time in school, and then graduated starting here. And now she is on the crew. She films, she shoots, she edits. She is like, dude, if you could see, my daughter's desk is right there. She's not here because I'm doing this with you.
Nice.
We share the room together. My wife is just as involved in the company. She does, the books and pay. She does all the stuff I don't like. The left brain, right brain thing. We got that separated.
Yeah.
And then my son, I mentioned all the vacation and the things we do together. We talk shop. He calls me with ideas. Dad, have you thought about this? Like, he drove me to get into how can I use these AI tools that are coming on in like 2021. He got me very engaged in that. And now we have tools that we use that make our films better. And that was all driven by my boy telling me, Dad, you've got to get on this train. And now I'm on the train.
That's awesome.
So yeah, very engaged, very involved. My daughter loves travel, so travel shoots. Hey, it saves money. She and I can get a room together.
Yeah.
It's a family business. My goal, I want to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow not because I want to get wealthy, because I believe so deeply that what we do, that for the right families, what we do is so important. I want everybody to be able to do it. And so I want her to take it over. Or my son, if he gets involved, I want him to take it over. Nothing would make me prouder than to have a family-owned business stay in the family generationally.
That's really cool. Yeah, my wife, her grandma and mom immigrated from Cuba. So abuelita, her grandma. Abuelita. My wife she's about to be 92. So my wife has been sitting down when she goes to the house and just like asking her questions. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. And trying to write as much down. And like she's learning all this stuff that she didn't know.
Dude.
So she's
got an iPhone. Film it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. We should. I mean, I've got everything she needs to set it up with good lighting, all the stuff. Let's make it happen.
You got to.
But it's so cool that she comes back, she opens up her book and like, I didn't know that she did this. And while in Cuba, there was this. And, so we want to try to get all of that stuff down. So the passion that you have behind that is like,
man,
I wish everybody would do this with
everybody.
Even if they're not like, let's look at somebody who's not a big fan of their parents or, they still have some sort of do it anyways, learn more about who they are, understand where they came from. And it's going to open your eyes so much more to the experiences they had in life that affected how they parented and what was going on there. Like, it's amazing.
There's a temptation there's so much I want to say. First of all, you just said my very favorite type of film to do, which is the Cuban immigrant stories. They are, I don't know how many I've done, 20. But here's my favorite. I got so many favorite ones. I did a film for a guy that played checkers with Castro and ended up living in the woods and doing all that stuff. But another one, this Cuban man named Mr. Wong, W-O-N-G. His dad fled communist China in the late 20s for Cuba, for the paradise of Cuba, and built himself up. He backed Chiang Kai-shek. Lost everything, came to Cuba, built up, had a dozen grocery stores in the 50s, was a man of means, lost it all again, and had to escape on a boat to the United States. And you want to talk about somebody that is not in favor of socialistic leanings?
Yeah.
This man.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they can see the writing on the wall. They understand what that means and where that comes from.
Totally.
If I do escape it twice, I mean, it's one of those like,
my favorite stories. See it. So pick her brain, brother. Pick her. And by the way, she loves it. Your abuelita, she loves talking to your wife. It's her she loves talking to her.
Yeah.
And people love, How to Win Friends. I'm pointing at the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yeah. Ask short questions with long answers and stay curious about the person. She'll talk to her all day. Yeah, man. Good for you.
Yeah, it's awesome. And we really should record them all. I think it's a phenomenal idea. So as you're kind of running around doing this in business, like how are you trying to, again, you want to do a bunch of these, and I get the aspect of trying to tell as many stories as possible, but it's also a business. So how are you trying to grow the business side of it? Are you trying to build more employees as far as, and get more of these films, like spread out teams, multiple teams? How are you trying to grow the business side of it?
You just nailed it. More films, more locations. Like what we do here in Houston works, and we're launching San Francisco, Phoenix, Miami, and one other place this year. And the way we're going to do it is book it just regular like we're doing through Houston. Oh, look at that one. I'm so jealous, dude.
Yep, the littlest. She's a little sad that she wasn't with Daddy, so here she is.
Hello, sweetheart. Look at her. Good for you, man. Good for you. Yeah, and then grow the team. My biggest pinch point is finding other people to do what I do, the interviews themselves, because the level of care, I don't know how to express. It is so real. When I'm talking to people's mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, or themselves, the world stops, and I want their family to know their story. And to find somebody and I'm being invited into their home, being trusted, it's a lot of trust to extend to somebody else. So finding those right people to do that is my big challenge. All of my crew jobs are pretty standard, from the film community. I can find people to do crew jobs, but finding the interviewer, they're out there. There's somebody that's better than me. I know that. There's lots of people that are better than me. But to extend that trust for me is probably it's a control freak issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it's also, it's one of those on the business versus in the business, but your in the business is the business, right? I mean, like the interview portion of it. So sometimes it's better to not give those up, but the only way to grow and get more of these is to find some of those people.
So as we have like two different versions, two price points. Like we have a very accessible price point at like between 10 and 15 grand for a film. And then we have what we call signature films, which are just, at the end of the day, it's still the story, but we may interview a lot of other people, multiple locations, other countries. Like we've done some pretty crazy big films. But at the root of it is still this person loves their mom or their dad, and we're telling that story. And so I've got some relationships with family offices that's been a good source of clients. Once you've built trust at that elevated price point, the business takes care of itself. But I don't want to just do the big ones. I want to be able to have a team of people that do what I do all over the place, doing the more accessible films. And it allows me to focus on the bigger ones, which the trickle down, when we go out and do stuff with more resources applied to a film, we get better at those new things that then make the more accessible films better. It's all to make, everything is to make the films better. Everything. That's a big goal.
You just described something that is great in capitalism as well. We talked about the socialist side of the house, and it's one of those things that the more money you have that you're able to throw at something to test new ideas, to build new things, helps everybody down who can't afford those things to be able to afford them later. When you're looking at business, there's no, you can make a $2 widget and sell a bajillion of them, but you've got to be able to excel and go to the higher spot and go to the thing that is hard to stretch yourself. Go to the thing that is going to build more and make it a $4 widget that 50,000 or 50 million people could go buy. And just it keeps on growing on top of each other. So I love the concept that you're thinking to yourself, boy, we can grow these larger, more expensive projects that are going to only help the lower level and base entry projects. And I love that for sure.
I promise you, it's very real. Going back to my Army days, I brought some of my discipline. Like we have SOPs for everything. Like we use military jargon in the things that we do because it's freaking effective. It's good. PMCS our equipment. We do these things that we've carried over, and all throughout my life we try to bring all that stuff. I have another company that's called Farm and Ranch Films, which is basically it's the same as Heritage Films, but if the land tells a story too, like multi-generational farms, ranches. So that's another thing that we're doing. But at the root of everything we do, it's, okay, I'll tell you something. When I started the company, I thought what was important was to share these stories so that the knowledge gets transferred, so that I know that Pawpaw was a welder or whatever. That's what I thought for years. For years. It wasn't until I started getting feedback. Maybe somebody that we filmed in 2015 died, and it's 2019, 2020, and I get an email. Hey man, I didn't realize how important this film was. They don't want this. They want the stories, but what they really want, they want the values. Our generation, I'm a little older than you, but we're close enough. So many people in our generation, and certainly in the generation but beneath us, the millennials, they know something's missing. They know. Yeah. And they see something in the older people that, God, they figured something out. What they really want when they do these films, they want the values, the best of the values of grandma and grandpa or mom and dad. They want those crystallized and bottled. Not for me. Like I already screwed it all up. But man, I sure hope my kids can be more like Pawpaw. That's what they really want. Because people, I think that's what they really want. I don't like to be definitive. I think that's what they really want. That's my approach. I'm trying to get the stories along with the principles and values via storytelling in a way that's transferable and actionable to people that little girl's age. She's the real audience because she's going to get to a point in her life where she's going to want it. She may not get to know Abuelita very well. Well, you need to get your iPhone out so that she can, right? That's thinking about people that haven't even been born yet.
Yeah, for sure. And so how do we tell dads who are younger than you and I? I'm at that, despite how old I look, I'm at the very end of millennials. So
are you?
So I'm like 80? What do they call it?
You born in 81?
No, 85 actually. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So what do they call them? There's I'm forgetting the name of the game that I played a ton of that we called it. They had the wagon and you died dysentery and all the stuff. And it was
Oregon Trail.
Oregon Trail. So they call it like, some folks were like, oh, the Oregon Trail portion of the millennials, right? Because I didn't grow up with a computer. I didn't have any of that stuff. No. So you're right in that middle spot. My sister was born in 81, 83, and 85. So we're all 2 years apart, me and my sisters.
You are closer to my son than me. I just had this unlock. I'm like, oh my God, my son is growing up.
I'm right in between the two of you guys because I'm 40, right? So 12 years and 12 years.
Wow.
But how do we talk to folks who, because I'm right there with you mentally where I'm at. I grew up always, funny on a side story, I always grew up thinking I was Generation X, me and my sisters all, because everything was Generation X. Yeah. We're like, yeah, this is us. We're growing up in this age, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I turned into a millennial. I don't know what time that was. Yeah. I don't know when all of a sudden, I think I was already an adult when I found out that I was a millennial and not Gen X. And I was like, because I had never even heard a millennial until I had already been to like Iraq, like I'm already fought in war and all of a sudden I'm told I'm a millennial. I'm like, wait a second. Anyways, it's how do we talk to those dads who may be hearing this, and rather than telling the story, saying, hey, I want to pass those values on via these stories, not everybody's going to be able to spend $15,000 on a video. So how do we get these younger dads to go, you know what? I can start this.
You can.
I can be the one to pass these, because they can. They're just like that. You don't have to take the stuff and get it on video from your parents, especially if you don't have that relationship. How do we encourage them to say, you can start this and be the dad that you didn't have, or be the dad that passes all that stuff on? How do we talk to them?
It's going to turn into a Nike commercial. You just do it. Like at a very literal level, I tell people that can't afford to do a heritage film to get their iPhone out and do it themselves. And I always say, it'll suck compared to mine, but that doesn't matter, because there will come a day when you wish you had those stories. As far as doing it yourself, people will often ask me, what are the big repeating themes that come up from interviewing hundreds of people? Dude, all of the repeating themes in life, all the secrets to happiness, they're all in Proverbs. That's where they are. This was figured out thousands of years ago, okay? There's nothing new. And how you do it, just read the Bible, read books that are like, if books have sold millions of copies and there's a good message in them, don't think that you're right. Don't read with a cynic's eyes. Read, I'm going to learn from this. Books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, things like that. Read them with an open heart, and then take the word Proverbs and these other books, live them, do them. Your kid, more is caught than taught. There's so many. It's so real. It's so real. We were teaching everything correctly. We were saying the right words. We were holding the right accountable. But I was crazy. I was doing crazy stuff. More is caught than taught. My son was watching rather than reading, right? Live it. Be the thing. Don't keep secrets. No secrets. Secrets are terrible. Man, it feels like the imposter syndrome coming in again about you asking me, what do we tell the dads? Be real. Be open. Talk to your kids. They can handle it. They can handle talking finances. Your kids, get them out of school. Get them at home. Homeschool is better than...
For sure.
Yeah, totally. We did a mixture of homeschool and private school, and homeschool's better. It was a great school. Private school is great. No, be home with your kids. The fear of socialization, that is society telling you that. It's bullcrap.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you.
You don't at all, because you could build all of that in. That's all a part of it. There's so much, especially nowadays, like after COVID, homeschool has kicked off so daggone much that everybody is just like, I see behind the curtain now of what was happening in my school. I don't need to go to that again.
I would even say this, homeschool, but don't do homeschool and try to recreate school. I think too many people do things like attendance and things like, what are you doing? Just teach your kids the basics and take them to work with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I started to do that a little bit. And my wife, I was the one who was pushing the homeschool thing, right? Because I work from home. I'm going to be the one doing the homeschool. So the last 2 years, I've been the one doing the homeschool. Now that my wife is retiring, it's changing a little bit. So I did all the research. I watched all the videos. I was digging into all the stuff, trying to really learn what it was. And that was the biggest thing that I kept coming back to. It's like, I don't want to just turn school into turn my home into school. I want it to be homeschool, like where they get to learn something different, where they get to be a part of something different. That if they want to read their books swinging on the swing outside, then go for it. Like if they want to, like they build a fort and they do their school inside of the fort, inside of the garage. And it's like, okay, great. Like have fun. Like here are the things you get to learn. Here are the things you don't. Too many people have structured, I had a desk that was sitting here. Both of the kids had their own desk. Half the time it wasn't used. It's like, why don't you buy a desk? Like, just go and do wherever you're comfortable learning and doing your thing. So it's so much fun.
Try like things that I've had to learn. So about 6 years ago, well, before COVID, so 6 years ago, I made a willful decision to change my definition of entertainment. So for years, I was everything. I still watch some shows, but all of them. Game of Thrones, I was a big sport. I worked in sports. I worked for the team. So all my Astros, Rockets, Texans, Aggies, I watched every sporting event. That was my social, go out with the buddies, all that stuff. I switched what I defined entertainment. And this was hard. This was twisting steel hard. I was like, I'm going to start being entertained by business development and self-improvement stuff. Like that is
did the same thing.
The podcasts, YouTube videos I switched to what I call entertainment. And boy, that has been the smartest thing I've ever done. It has been transformational. That in conjunction with actually taking lessons from the people I'm interviewing has been the biggest change in my life. It has made me a better husband, a better dad, as evidenced in my kids' success, better friend, better buddy, better Christian, being a sponge. One of the things about discipline, dude, I was given such bad advice. My dad literally told me that if you work hard to get rich, then you're just like everybody else. Like I was literally taught, you're special. You're going to be successful. What, because of luck? Because of providence?
Yeah.
Not to work hard. I had to learn that as an adult. No, I have to get excellent at something. I got to do it over and over until it's boring, until it's second nature. And only then can I really start trying to get good at it.
For sure.
The things like discipline are so important. They're so much more important than what, talent? Talent's a wonderful thing, but that you thank God for talent. When somebody says, she's so talented, he's so talented, that is God. It's discipline and work and effort that should really be lauded, should really be. Reward your kids for disciplined behavior rather than, look how good that drawing is. Well, if they worked on it for a month, then say it.
No, I completely agree with that. It's one of those that you celebrate the effort, not the outcome, right? Because even if your child is horrendous at art, but they worked their butt off on it, and you looked at it and you thought it was a zephyr, but it was actually a bird. Okay, great. Doesn't matter. Like, did they work their butt off at it? Were they trying real hard? Then put in that. Yes, then celebrate that. Doesn't mean we don't try to direct a little bit and say, maybe art's not your thing. Maybe we should try something else.
That could be your hobby. Maybe
that could be a hobby. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want your leche?
The effort versus outcome. One of the things I've learned in my films, the effort and outcome, those words together. People that focus on outcome tend to be pessimistic. People that focus on effort tend to be optimistic. I'm talking as an observation of somebody that talks to a lot of people. It's what I've seen.
No, I can agree with that for sure. And let me put this back up. I could agree with that in the sense that's because it changes the outlook on what you're looking at, period. Mm-hmm. Like if all I'm focused on is the outcome, then when things go bad, I am sad.
Yep.
Right. Which is 9 times out of 10, things are going to go bad, right? Like it's just the way things go. Or I shouldn't say they're going to go bad. I should say that they're not going to go exactly like you wanted to. My son's a big golfer, my 10-year-old. He loves golfing. And I've been trying to explain to him, like he's got this idea that if he's not on the 1 square foot of fairway that he wanted it to be on, then it was a bad drive. And I was like, okay, so professionals are only in the fairway, not on the 1 square foot they want, in the fairway 60% of the time. So if professionals are only fairways and regulation 60% of the time, what should that mean for us?
Yeah.
We should not expect 60% of the time, right? And then my buddy was just here visiting, and I don't know if, can you hear her scratching on that? I hope that doesn't show up on the audio. So the Scotty Scheffler, currently the number 1 golfer in the world, and also a Christian, which is awesome. He said that in an entire tournament, he'll only have 2 balls that go exactly where he wanted them to go. So in an entire tournament where he's shooting, 280 shots,
wow,
right, is only shooting 2 balls exactly where he wants them to go. That doesn't mean he's a bad golfer. That means that things don't go the way we want. every time. And if we're focused on it didn't land where I wanted to go, the business idea didn't go where I wanted it to go exactly. The thing and we're not focused on, okay, what are we doing to make it better? What are we doing to grow? What are we doing to be happy about the outcome anyways? Like, what are we doing to learn from where it was at? If all we're doing is focusing on, well, only 2 of my shots landed where I wanted to go, we're going to quit no matter what. And you're going to have that negative outcome, that negative thought process. Like you said, you're going to be a pessimist. But if you go, you know what? I missed where I wanted to miss. Okay, great. Mm-hmm. You're in the right track. You're moving in that right direction. So, I love being able to use sports for my kids because they love to be able to do all those things, judo and golf and all the stuff, right? So can I use these things to help them teach life lessons? And you absolutely daggum can, if we're wise and taking advantage of that and not letting life just happen. You're doing it by design.
Yeah. That's all. That Scotty thing. That's great. The version of that I heard. So one of my dear friends he was a CEO of a big company, a big public company. He uses a baseball analogy of the best hitters in the world only get, a third of the time they'll get it right.
Exactly.
A third of the time they'll get it. And even those aren't always the ideal shot, right? And I thought that's an even better. It
could still just be a single.
Yeah, totally right. That you had to leg out. You might have pulled your hammy on the way. Yeah, but that Scotty Scheffler, I'm putting that one. I'm putting that in my notes when we wrap up.
There you go.
That's awesome.
And I try before this because I just heard that Scotty Scheffler thing this weekend. So I'd always talked about that with the baseball thing. I'm not a baseball fan at all. I think the last baseball game I watched was in the 90s. So actually, I went to one in Arizona because they were giving away free tickets to the military. My wife and I went to it. We left at like the 6th inning. So I didn't even finish the game there. But it still is such a valuable thing to think about. Like the best of the best, a third of the time is when they're actually hitting the ball, and and those aren't home runs. So, it's something to keep in mind for sure. And I think that's good for business as well. If we could think about that in our business, like we're going to have a ton of business ideas and a bunch of them are going to fall flat.
Totally.
And that's okay. And I talked about it on the last podcast that I just did is like Jeff Bezos talks about his 2-way door, right? Like walk through the door. We've got this idea, chase it down, go through the door. If you get to the other side of the door and it doesn't work, it goes the other direction too. Stop. Just walk away. We're going to spend less money just testing it than we are talking about it on whether or not we should do it. If somebody have an idea, go test it.
That's right.
We'll spend some money on it. Go test it.
I've read everything on a lot of people, but Bezos is one of them. He's a good business mind.
I hate to pause this, but she just told me she needs to go night. Let me go put her down for a nap, and then I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'm right here, man.
All right, let me pause it. All right. So obviously we will have to edit some stuff, right?
Potty break.
Yes. Well, as I mentioned before, we had to pause the recording. Little lady wanted to go down, decided she didn't want to go down. She wanted to go to the bathroom. Potty training is fun. Once she sat down, she decided she didn't want to go to the bathroom anymore. So, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully she's dry by the time I get out there.
It sounds so fun. I miss it so much, Adam. I miss that.
Well, before you know it, you're going to be doing it with grandkids.
I hope so. Come on, get after it,
So that's the way it goes. That's how this whole life cycle works.
It is.
My parents are loving the fact that they get to see the grandkid thing. So I graduated high school in upstate New York, central New York, really. But
where at?
Outside of Syracuse. So I graduated high school up there. My sisters are still up there, but my parents moved down here to Florida like the year before I moved down here because they knew I was eventually going to make it down here, and they had not spent any time with my kids. They spent time with my sister's kids. So they were like, hey, we want to retire south anyways. Let's do Florida instead of South Carolina. So now they get to hang out with the grandkids, my 3 kids all the time, and it's so much fun to watch. I've never seen my dad happier. He grew up really not so great as a young man. He lost his dad when he was 2.
Wow.
My grandfather, his dad died of a heart attack at like 39 years old or something like that, like crazy. So my dad was only 2 years old, so never really knew his dad at all. And his stepdad, not so great, not such a great experience there. It was I won't tell any of my dad's stories, but I'll tell my own story of Howard, my step grandfather, if you will. I used to always pat him on his head before we'd leave. So he'd lay down. Grandma and Grandpa's house was always so full of smoke. Like we'd have to play on the floor to avoid the cloud, because both of them smoked like chimneys. Yeah, it was interesting. We would play on the floor to avoid the cloud or be outside, of their trailer running around. Well, I'd always pat Grandpa on the head. He would watch the TV. He would mute it during the commercials. So he'd just be sitting there staring smoking a cigarette, staring at the TV on mute, and then he'd unmute it when the show came back on. And I never saw him leave the couch unless it was time to eat. Like, that was Grandpa, like, ever. And my mom's parents died in a car accident before I was born. So they were both killed on Christmas Eve by a drunk driver while my mom was pregnant with my oldest sister.
Wow.
So I never grew up, like, all I had was my grandma, my dad's mom, and that was it. So I'd always pat him on his head and say, "See you later, Grandpa." Well, one day, I don't remember how old I was. Maybe I was my son's age, my oldest son's age. I pat him on the head. I say, "See you later, Grandpa." And he said, "You ever touch my head again, I'll break your arm." And that was close to the last time I ever spoke to him. We never went back to his house after that. Like, my dad had tried to give us an experience with grandparents.
Wow.
And that's how it ended, was with that. And I thought to myself, it wasn't until much later in life I really started to think about it. I'm like, man, if that's what he said to me, and I only visit, what happened to my dad? What sort of experiences did he have on the other side of that door when he was growing up? And, and I've heard some stories. Again, I'm not going to share them on a podcast, but I've heard some of the stories, and it's just like, I can't believe.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know? So now that I'm here and my kids get to see, like, grandparents that get to enjoy, like, my dad's the happiest I've ever seen him. He's a retired correction officer. He worked for 26 years as a correction officer up in New York as a state CO up there. Before that, he was in the Air Force for 16 years before he broke his back.
Ooh.
And so, like, he was always just work, provide for the family. I was so much of a latchkey kid. I was never home. I'd come home, do my homework, get on my bike, and I was gone.
You are Gen X. It's official.
This is exactly why I said, like, I don't relate to a lot of the millennial stuff. I don't understand how people, like, I mean, it was just not what my life was. Jumping off of bridges into the river, like, while my mom was still at work, and, like, it's just like, exactly, that's the whole point of them, right? I tried to do a dive once off of that river. The only time my mom came to visit, I tried to do a dive off the river, and I did a belly flop off the bridge. I could not breathe. My buddy was right there, thankfully. He pulled me out and brought me to the side because I was so dazed. I was toast.
Gosh.
It was probably, I think it was like a 15-foot bridge or something like that. So 15-foot belly flop is no bueno.
No bueno.
But now I get to see my kids have grandparents and be there. And, it's just so much fun to watch. My dad's thrilled. My dad's a golfer, so he gets to golf with my son. And I get to see it. My son just had a golf tournament at his golf course out here in Florida and shot one of his best rounds he'd have. Like, he was shooting really, really well. My son shot a triple on the last hole, which hurt him bad. He was going into the last hole 3 over.
Wow.
And so he was doing really well with no birdies. So he was steady at pars.
Yeah.
I had a couple bogeys that, it is what it is. And then the last hole, he put one in the water, ends up with a triple. It just overshot the green. And he was very angry about it. Like, he thought it was the worst round he'd ever had just because of the 2 or 3 screw-ups he had. But my dad got to sit there and watch the whole thing, and it's just fun to see the grandparents there. So we started all that because I said, soon you get to be the grandparent. You get to relive some of these. And now it's just so much fun to watch my parents be grandparents and enjoy the time with the kids and all of this stuff. It's so much fun. But, yeah.
Yeah, having interviewed so many grandparents, there's something special about it. Like, they like to just look at the kids. Like, they don't always have to do. They just want to witness the children being happy, and that makes them happy. It fills their soul. Or you can be a young grandparent and get out there and wrestle with them. That's what I'm hoping for. She's back.
She definitely needs the nap. She's tired.
Well, what is it?
Look at those tears.
It's noon your way. Okay.
It's only noon, huh?
Hello, baby girl.
He said, hello. Can you say hi? Can you say hi? Are you tired? Are you ready for a nap? No. Okay, you just sit on Daddy's lap. Suck your thumb. Enjoy your blankets.
There you go.
So the great grandma now, like, watching Abuelita with the grandkids is so much fun too, because she wants to talk to them all the time, and just, again, like you said, just kind of look at them and just like, man, oh man.
Yeah. Yep. And you see these grandparents, they look and they see so much hope. Grandparents are people that they know that, like we talked about curveballs in life, they've just been around the sun more than us, and they know, they see that there are patterns, and they can see bigger patterns, longer patterns. Grandparents are more likely to say it's going to be okay because they know that it probably will. Whatever it is, it's probably going to be okay.
Yeah, very true. And it's, we have images in our head about what the worst things are going to be. Like, I made this mistake and it's going to turn into this, and it's going to be the worst thing in the world. And I forgot who it is. I think maybe it's Chris Williamson. I had to go back to listening to the podcast and all the stuff just to kind of grow my brain. And I think it's him who says that the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you.
Yeah.
Right? So you can create the things in your head that are going to be way worse than anything that's ever happened to you. But those haven't happened, right?
Yeah.
You can create these terrible things in your head. And maybe the creation of it in your head may help it come to fruition. It might. But still, like, the worst thing that's ever happened to you is still the worst thing that's ever happened to you. So you've made it through that. You can make it through the next thing. Let's go ahead and focus on what you've done. It's got you to where you are now. So just keep on pressing.
Yeah. He had an episode with Naval Ravikant, who I love. Naval. I love all of his writings, but that's part of his core philosophy too. Like, eventually the worst thing that ever is going to happen. Well, you've been through that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's all gravy from here.
Yeah, there was a guy, and we were going through some rough parts. So, I have an education company where we teach real estate stuff, right? And then when the real estate market started going and things were kind of going through some hiccup things, and me and one of the other guys that have rather experienced military guys were like, dude, ain't nobody getting shot at.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, nobody's dying today over mortgages. Nobody's dying today over a deal that falls apart. We're going to be all right. None of this is the worst thing that's ever happened to us. Like, it's quite all right. And the more that we can get perspective on where life is and where life is going to be, it's really hard to pass. Hey, why are you taking my microphone, little lady? It's really hard to pass perspective on to your kids, right? Because they have to learn their own perspective.
Yeah.
But one thing I try to be cautious of is my perspective not getting in the way of my son learning perspective. Because I could sit there and say, oh, it's no big deal. Like, this is very tiny. But to him right now, that may be the worst thing that's ever happened to him. And I need to realize that he needs to experience this worst thing that's ever happened to him and understand that, yeah, this may be painful, but you're going to grow from it. So, I'm going to throw it over to you with that thought process and say, those experiences that your kids have had, those worst things that ever happened to them, how did you work through them as parents? How did you work through them as help them work through them as kids to realize, okay, this is how you gain perspective. This is how you grow. This is how you build your characters through these moments.
Wow. I would once again, I'm going to defer everything to other people. I had a lady tell me in a film once that sometimes when life brings you to your knees, when circumstances bring you to your knees, that's where God wants you. And that's the approach that my wife and I took during the challenging times. It was, we need to focus more on God. And then when you say, and then it works itself out, it's true. God's doing it. He's using us. He's giving us ideas and opportunities that when you're in a prayerful state, you're more apt to see and to hear and to make better decisions. And so that would be my response to that, is when things are really, really tough. Again, I don't know how atheists do it. I got a little respect to them, sort of. Like, how in the hell are you making it through this world? What? Like, I've said this before, there's nothing sadder than a 90-year-old agnostic person. And I've talked to them.
Yeah.
And there's a core component of people's faith, and it's mostly Christians, but not all. Lots of Jewish films, some Muslim films, Hindu, Jain. But the agnostic or the atheist, when they're that old, it's like I'm at a loss of what to do. Like, one of the ways I need to get better is to, how can I have a message of hope to somebody that thinks that they're going to close their eyes one day and then it's all over? And their kids love them desperately. I don't want their kids to hear that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that's my answer to your question. It's turning to God. Whenever things are tough, brought to your knees, that's where you're supposed to be.
Well, I think let me comment on that first, and then I'll add my extra thought about the atheist side of the house, is that it's one of those things that regardless, often we'll look at, Christians anyways, we'll look at, I think God's telling me to do this, and then we go and do it, and if it doesn't succeed, well, I guess I wasn't hearing actually from God. Well, that may not always be true. Sometimes you need to go through something and fail at it because it's getting you to another point. Sometimes you're learning something from that you need for your future endeavor, that you're on your way somewhere else. And I think that to go to the atheist side of the house, oftentimes, I think they're actually, and they won't say this, but they're borrowing a Christian worldview to be able to put themselves through life, right? Because there is no hope without a Christian worldview, right? If it really is, if we're here for nothing, then there is no hope for any of it, right?
Yeah.
There's no point in doing anything, period, end of story. Like, there's no ethics without the Christian worldview. There's no hope without the Christian worldview. There's no, because all of us, if we're all a clump of cells from the beginning to the end, then it doesn't matter what we do to each other.
Well, and you can always talk, everybody has faith. And you can always get to it whenever you go and ask the eternal questions, always end up with faith. Like, where did it come from? Okay, they believe in the Big Bang. Where did that come? The further back you go, it requires faith in the inexplicable.
Yes.
So everybody believes in the supernatural. It's our job, or one of our side jobs, is to live a life that makes people think that we're right.
Yeah. Yeah, to see with their eyes clear where God, and it's my son, like, why do non-Christians believe in the Big Bang? I said, I can believe in the Big Bang.
Yeah,
I don't have
totally.
an issue with that. Maybe it's just God's the one who did the Big Bang because they don't have an idea where the Big Bang came from. And God kind of went like this. And sure, there you go. But there's no way I can look around this world, look at, something like this sitting on my lap, this little lady sitting on my lap and go, I'm going to rewind. There's an FBI buddy of mine that I used to work with. He's an engineer, went to Georgia Tech for engineering, became an FBI agent. Thank you. She just tearing my stuff apart here on my desk. But one of his friends is also an engineer, and he says, "How can you be an engineer and a scientist and believe in God?" And he said, "Look around at the creations that you've done. How can you look at all this and think it wasn't engineered?"
Totally right.
How is there a way that this is just random happenstance, and super true. Like, I don't understand how people can walk through life and not. I think it's willful blindness, honestly.
I do too.
But that's just somebody
judgment.
hearing that's just going to go. Oh, that's your. Oh no,
ain't mad at
I get it. But I would like them to realize that it's willful blindness and then kind of open their eyes to what the truth actually is. I mean, there's a book of DNA inside each one of us that tells a story. Stories don't just happenstance, it's just not a thing. But I don't even know how we got to this. But
it's fun though.
Yeah, I love it. Like I tell people, I have no idea where the conversation is going to go. They just kind of flow with wherever they go.
Yes, they do.
But I'll throw it over to you. What have I said? Anything that you have questions on, or are there any ideas that you've been pondering as a dad that you want to talk about?
Mostly what I'm seeing, I'm so glad your daughter joined you and you told me before we rolled that my kids might run in here. Man, knowing that how young you are, you make me feel so much hope, Adam. Just that you love your kids and your business, taking care of my crap, but you love your family. Because, we're all taught, Gen X and up, that the future's screwed. But when I see you and I see that young lady in your lap, you give me such tremendous hope and happiness. What I'm taking away from this is that, man, you turn on the news for 10 minutes and you think the world's falling apart. Well,
yeah, no kidding.
Do my job for a month and talk to a bunch of old people that have their crap together, whose kids love them, and you're like, I think we're going to be okay. Pair that with that little lady on your lap, and I'm like, we're for sure okay, everybody. It's all good.
Well, so long as we, keep letting, men be men and women be women and do what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah, I mean, there is some pessimism inside of me as well that I have to try to get rid of. But
fight it.
But I really appreciate that. It's the best thing I can do is be the best leader of my family I can be and the best leader of my business I can be, and then try to help others see where they can become better as well. So if we're all moving in that direction, then that's one step forward.
You're doing a great job.
Trying to give that. Well, what are you doing? You want to say hi? No,
not
at all. I love you, little lady. But man, Chance, this has been absolutely a pleasure getting to chat with you, getting to know you a little bit more. If folks are hearing you and they're like, man, I really want to, I want to learn more about these heritage films. I want to maybe be a part of it. My grandfather, my uncle, me, whatever it is. What's the best way for folks to reach out to you to learn more?
You can go to yourheritagefilm.com and see the website, reach out. And I'll reiterate this. You don't have to hire me to do this. You can do it with your phone. You can sit down and ask some just generic questions. They don't have to be that, like, we have a whole process, yada, yada. But man, at the root of it is real curiosity and knowing that while you enjoy it, you'll be glad you have it. There will come a time way down the road where you're going to be glad you have that iPhone video. Your kids are going to be curious about who they are. You want to have that. This is a little bit more. We all wish we had this of people that are already gone. Sure. Do it while you can. And if you wanted to do it with us, we're there, yourheritagefilm.com. But I mean it very sincerely. Talk to people with hair of my color. Find the people whose hair looks like that and just chit chat with them.
I love it. Yeah, that's funny. I've thought about on a different level of that, but the finding folks like that is sitting down outside of the VA, like creating a podcast where I just sit outside the VA with a table and a microphone And as a veteran comes out, just have them sit down and tell me their story, and just to learn more, like to hold on to some of those stories that are there, to understand who these people were before they were, taking a wheelchair outside of the Veterans Administration Hospital, and just have conversations and be able to hold on to that. Because I would imagine the kids of those people, the grandkids of those people, would love to hear those stories. And
you'd be doing a great service to them for them to share.
I'm getting whacked over the head with a poster here. What are you doing, little lady? Is that fun? What are you doing to me? But, I think it would be a lot of fun. It's just a matter of whether or not that's a feasible thing, because that's a lot of time. It's a lot of process. But
it is.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to get those stories. Yes, I know. You're hitting me in the head, you little rascal. You little rascal. Thank you. Oh, you want me to get you in the head? Yeah, let's get that on video. Pop, pop, pop. Me abusing my daughter.
Man,
all right.
So
well, Chance, it was absolutely a pleasure getting to chat with you. I thank you so much for jumping on. If there's anything I could ever do to serve you and your team, let me know. And for everybody listening, obviously you can hear the passion that Chance has behind this. So reach out to him. YourHeritageFilms.com, right?
Singular, Your Heritage Film. Yes, sir.
YourHeritageFilm.com. Thank you again, Chance. Thank you, everybody listening. Please comment below. Let us know what your favorite part was. Share this with somebody that you think would love to hear this story and learn more about what Heritage Films is doing and more about who Chance is. So thank you again, Chance. Thank you, everybody listening. And we will see everybody on the next show.
Thank you so much for listening to the BizDad Podcast. We hope you found some value in your time here with us, and we look forward to bringing you the next episode. If you've enjoyed today's show, please subscribe and share so you and your friends won't miss our upcoming episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Rumble, where we continue these discussions and share more valuable content. Be the dad you know you need to be and run your business in a way you're proud to share with your kids. Keep crushing it.